Two little girls were huddled together on a snowy sidewalk, trembling and blue from the cold. Left with nothing, no coat, no shoes, just each other. When a passing billionaire stopped to help, he thought he was rescuing them. But he didn't know they were about to rescue him too. And when a mysterious black limo showed up, everything changed. It was the coldest night in New York City in years. Wind howled through the empty streets as snow piled on the sidewalks like forgotten dreams. Near a shopping plaza, under a flickering street lamp, two tiny figures huddled close together on the frozen pavement. They were twin girls, no more than 6 years old, with tangled hair, dirt on their cheeks, and bare feet turning purple from the cold. They clung to each other beneath a thin, torn blanket someone had thrown away. Pedestrians walked by. Some glanced, most ignored. One woman muttered, "Where's their mother?" before stepping into a warm cafe. The girls didn't cry. They were too tired, too cold. Their little bodies trembled as they tried to keep each other warm. Just when it seemed like the night would swallow them whole, a sleek black car rolled to a stop nearby. The door opened, and a man in a long, dark coat stepped out. He paused when he saw them, two tiny lives almost fading away before his eyes. His name was Daniel Gray, one of the wealthiest men in the city. But in that moment, it wasn't wealth that mattered. It was heart. He slowly walked over, knelt down, and gently took off his coat. "Hey," he said softly, wrapping it around them. "You're going to be okay now." The girls blinked up at him, barely able to respond. He lifted them into his arms like they weighed nothing. In that frozen moment, under that dying streetlight, something began to thaw. Not just the girl's frozen skin, but Daniel's frozen soul. He had saved them from the cold, not knowing they would save him from a deeper kind of emptiness. Daniel carried the twin girls into his mansion like fragile glass. His staff rushed forward in shock, not used to their boss arriving with two freezing, dirt-covered children in his arms. Without waiting for questions, Daniel ordered warm baths, clean clothes, and food, real food, not the scraps they were used to begging for. The girls sat silently at the grand dinner table later that night, dressed in soft pajamas too big for their tiny frames. Their eyes wandered around the golden chandeliers, marble floors, and long windows taller than they'd ever seen. But despite the warmth, the food, and the soft beds waiting upstairs, they didn't smile. They barely spoke. Every bite they took was slow, cautious, like they expected someone to yell or take it away. Daniel watched from across the table, something heavy pressing on his chest. These girls, who hadn't even told him their names, had clearly seen more pain in their few years than most people do in a lifetime. When the youngest twin dropped her spoon and flinched, as if expecting to be hit, Daniel stood up. He gently walked over, knelt beside her, and picked up the spoon without a word. "You're safe here," he said, his voice low but kind. "No one's going to hurt you." The girl looked at him, eyes full of confusion and fear, but also the tiniest flicker of trust. That night, as they slept side by side in a bed softer than anything they'd ever known, Daniel stood at the door and watched them breathe. He didn't know where they came from, or why they were out there alone. But he knew one thing for sure: he was going to find out. Because something about their silence felt like a story buried deep, and maybe even danger. The morning sunlight filtered softly through the curtains as the twin girls slowly woke up. For the first time in a long while, they had slept through the night without shivering. Daniel was already awake, sitting in the living room with a cup of coffee, waiting. He wasn't just a billionaire. He had spent years building companies, negotiating deals, and reading people. But nothing had prepared him for this. When the girls quietly walked in, still unsure of their place in this grand home, he smiled and gestured for them to sit. "Can you tell me your names?" he asked gently. The older one hesitated before whispering, "Lena." She nudged the younger one beside her, who looked up with big, wary eyes and murmured, "Nora." It was the first time he'd heard them speak. Their voices were soft but carried so much weight, as if speaking aloud was dangerous. Daniel leaned forward. "Do you know where your parents are?" The girls looked at each other. Lena bit her lip, trying not to cry. "Gone," she said. "We ran." Bad people. Daniel's heart sank. He didn't push them further but nodded, his mind already racing. He knew then this wasn't just about giving two homeless girls a place to stay. This was deeper, maybe darker. That evening, while the girls played quietly in the garden, Daniel made some calls. Private investigators, child services contacts, anyone he trusted. If someone had been after them, he needed to know why. But just as he hung up the phone, a message arrived on his private line. No name, just one chilling sentence. They're not yours to keep. Daniel froze. Whoever the girls had run from, they weren't finished. And now they knew exactly where to find them. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The message haunted him. Who were these people claiming the girls? And why had they let two young children live in the cold for so long, only to suddenly care now? He doubled security around the house, told the guards to stay alert, and kept his phone within reach. Meanwhile, Lena and Nora were starting to open up. They smiled more, laughed softly when the cook offered them pancakes shaped like bears, and began to draw pictures of trees, houses, and stick figures holding hands. But beneath their growing comfort, Daniel could see it. The way their eyes darted toward every sound, the way Nora clung to her sister whenever the doorbell rang. They were still scared. And that fear became real the next evening when a sleek black limousine pulled up outside the mansion's gates. No one had buzzed in. The cameras hadn't picked up a license plate. Just as the guards approached, the back window rolled down slowly. A man in a dark suit leaned out and said coldly, "We're here for the girls." The guards stood firm, refusing to open the gate, but the man simply smiled. "Tell Mr. Reed we'll be back. He can't keep what isn't his." Then the limo turned and disappeared into the night like a ghost. Daniel watched it all on the security feed, his fists clenched. Whoever these people were, they were powerful and used to getting what they wanted. He now knew this wasn't just a rescue story. It was a battle. The twins weren't just abandoned children. They were connected to something bigger, something dangerous. And if these strangers thought he would hand them over, they had underestimated just how far he was willing to go to protect what had become his family. Daniel didn't waste a second. He called in every contact he had, private investigators, lawyers, even a retired intelligence officer who owed him a favor. Within days, the truth surfaced like a buried secret gasping for air. The twins were heirs to a vast but hidden fortune. Their late grandfather had been the founder of a global pharmaceutical empire. After his mysterious death, his greedy younger brother forged documents, pushed the girls and their sick mother into the shadows, and claimed the company. The mother had passed away quietly, and the twins, too young to understand anything, ended up on the streets. The man in the limo, the uncle, desperate to keep the truth buried now that Daniel had adopted them and started asking questions. Daniel knew what he had to do. He filed for full guardianship, exposed the documents publicly, and brought the uncle's crimes to court. The trial made headlines. People wept hearing the twins' story, and cheered when the judge banged the gavel, granting Daniel permanent custody and restoring the girls' rightful inheritance. But the best moment came quietly, one morning in the sunlit garden. Lena, holding a tiny flower in her hand, looked up at Daniel and whispered, "Are we safe now?" Daniel knelt down, tears in his eyes, and said, "Forever." That night, the girls slept peacefully for the first time in years. No more fear, no more hiding, just warmth, laughter, bedtime stories, and the gentle comfort of knowing they were loved. The black limo never returned, and Daniel, once a man of numbers and boardrooms, had found something richer than anything money could buy, a real family. And in the hearts of two once forgotten girls, he would always be the hero who didn't just save them from the cold. He gave them a home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with others. Subscribe to Moments Retold for more powerful stories that stay with you forever.